What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Roll Up, another live stream today here with Rob and some Chad Optimism builders on StarkNet airdrop day. What an odd coincidence. Today, we're going to be talking a ton about the Optimism Collective, how these builders are fitting in, get some good information, some alpha, some opportunities, and yeah, just kind of dive into some of the roll-up landscape. So without further ado, we'll go through a quick round of intros and then jump right into it. I can start with Jack and then Max and then go to Hilmar and James. Thanks for being here, guys.
Hey there, Andy. Thank you for making me be here. And so RouteScan is a block explorer platform, and it spun off from Avascan, the leading Avalanche explorer. And actually, we are here for our brand for the Optimism Collective, that is the Superscan. So the Superscan is the unified block explorer for the Superchain, that is including Mode and Lisk that are upcoming. So I can now announce, we announced some alpha, James. We actually built ModeScan, that is the block explorer for Mode, both testnet and mainnet. It will be announced, formally on social media in the next few days, and it will be, available for in production. It is already available. You can already use it, but it will be formally available in a few days.
Alpha drop before we even get through all the intros. Let's keep it going, Max.
How can I beat that? Hey guys, thanks for having me. My name is Max Korte. I'm the founder of Lisk. And I started in crypto 2012, so I'm here since quite a while. Know some of you guys since many years already, and happy to be here. Happy to reveal some alpha myself tonight, and yeah, looking forward to the next hour.
Awesome. Shall I take over? I guess so. Hi guys, I'm Hilmar. I'm one of the founders of Gelato. Gelato is Web3 Sweetest rollup as a service platform, and what we do is we help projects launch their fully managed enterprise-grade layer 2 blockchains, such as OP-Stack blockchains, part of the Superchain. And yeah, in addition to that, in addition to like running and operating rollups, L2s, we are one of the most widely used Web3 middleware service platform that does anything from like smart contract automation to Web3 functions that give you access to off-chain data and account extraction for a great sort of user experience. So yeah, super happy to be here.
Hey everyone, I'm James, founder of Mode. Our focus is on building out new DeFi products and innovative DeFi infrastructure for Optimism Superchain. Mode launched 2 weeks ago, and we've already seen some pretty significant growth. So yeah, check out Mode Network on Twitter. I'm excited to chat more, and yeah, already working with the guys here and happy to chat. Yeah, to discuss more exciting stuff that's coming soon.
And today, James, was the last day of the boosted campaign, right? Of the 7 days.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's an announcement coming today. So yeah, there's still much more fun to be had. But yeah, we fixed up some stuff, and the campaign is going to continue running. So yeah, we'll have more info going out on that later today.
Nice. Yeah, it seems like so kind of layer 2s came about in 2021, I think, or 2020-ish. Really, I think like Arbitrum kind of pioneered the ways as far as some of the OGs. There were some priors, and I think a lot of like the kind of shifts have now pushed into Optimism and pushed into different stacks. And I don't know, guys, like StarkNet dropped today. Like how are we feeling about layer 2s? I guess Max is probably a great answer for this one. Like, where is the why did you guys come on to a layer 2 with Gelato, and kind of what kind of pushed you guys here?
I feel pretty good about and the future of that. I have seen the space grow over the last few years, and we built for 8 years a platform for sidechains and realized that independent blockchains will not have a very big future, but rather it's much better to rely on the security of probably the best blockchain, Ethereum. And therefore, we made the very hard decision to pivot from a layer 1 to a layer 2. But the past few weeks and months have really shown us that this was the best possible for us, because finally I can work with my friends of many years here, Hilmar and James, together and get this show going and really start contributing to the space. Because as a layer 1, you always, well, on the one side have to do everything yourself, but you're also always against everyone else. And now, being for over 1 decade in the space, I can finally work together with other people instead of kind of against other people. Our ethos was always actually to collaborate and to bring something good to the space. But still, as one, I have to say, it felt really, really different than now as a layer 2. Now we can work together with so many partners, work on so many integrations, speak to so many developers in this industry, and finally go to the biggest conferences and be one of them. So it's real. And yeah, working with Gelato here together was for us a no-brainer. I mean, I know Hilmar now since I think 7 years, and we hang out previously at the meetups in Berlin together and see each regularly. And me, it was always about providing the least friction for developers. And I think with what Gelato built there over the last years, they're really the perfect partner for a rollup as a service platform. So we chose them. It was obvious they're the best, and really looking forward to the coming years with them.
Yo, Max, I don't know if you can switch to a different mic. Whoa, how'd you do that? That was that. But the audio got a little choppy in between sentences. So maybe if you just want to go on mute for a second, try to switch it up. But Hilmar, we're curious to hear from your perspective as well. Obviously, Gelato's launching a ton of different app-specific chains. There's some alpha coming up with some innovative type of rollups. But let's start with the experience of launching Lisk, and when can we expect Lisk to go live?
Well, I think that's probably a question for Max to sort of answer. I don't want to take anything away here from him, but I think we've been in conversations and a lot of calls with the Lisk team as well as with the Optimism team, and I think there's a really pretty exciting go-to-market strategy here, and I fully subscribe to this narrative around like working together. And like the beautiful thing about the Superchain and like L2s in general is that you don't have to sort of do all the work sort of yourself here. Let's say you are interconnected with like a Base, and Base has a really amazing on and off ramp to Coinbase, right? And then via like the future of the Superchain, at some point when you have more sort of cross chain communication as well being enabled, you will directly benefit as part of that ecosystem, right? And Lisk, I think, has a really interesting, quite unique sort of target user group that, I'm not sure like how much is public, so I will let Max talk about this, but I think sort of them focusing on this side of like the global market, and let's say like a Base or like a Mode focusing on like a different source of the markets, really then brings together like a huge ecosystem that everyone can share and leverage together. And I think this is, our mission is always, or has been, accelerating adoption of Web3 in general. And I think this is how you do it, right? You don't sort of build the same thing all over again. You collaborate and all sort of conquer different pieces of the world. And I think that makes me just excited about the idea in general.
Hilmar, I noticed now that your shirt it's not Dior, and it's not do your own research, it's do your own rollup. So like what is the thesis behind, like, you know, a lot of I think everyone here is like a contributor to the Optimism Superchain. Like what's the thesis between launching an L2 on the Superchain and then something more like specific, like an app specific rollup? Like when someone is launching their own chain, what are some of the design choices and the thoughts that kind of go through, you know, a builder's mind?
I think just sort of like, let's say, being part of the Superchain, and it's mostly like there's a lot of sort of small technical details here. I think I'm not sure how deep I want to go into each of them, but it is very specific to what is most valuable to the specific project, right? For Lisk, for example, I think like being part of the Superchain, really being able to focus on a specific target group, and then being interoperable with like the basis of the world, for example, I think it's really important and key, right? And so for them, like being really compatible and part of the Superchain and the sort of following together with the others, like one cohesive tech stack and narrative, I think is the perfect solution, right? Or is the right approach here in order to go to market. And there are, of course, other projects that say applications that have much more sort of custom requirements in terms of tech stacks. Like they want to have the cheapest data availability. They want to have the fastest block times. They want to have zero gas because they might charge in different ways on their rollup, right? They maybe are only perp decks and they might only want to charge per trade. So they are right now breaking compatibility a bit with then other providers, and their focus is not entirely only on this interoperability between other chains, right? They just want to do kind of like their own thing. So it really depends on what the actual goals of the projects are, and sort of what they want to do. And what we are seeing is there's a sort of fairly broad variety of either you want to go like super custom on your app and you want to make this chain perfect for your app, or you want to be more or less ecosystem, you want to be interoperable with all the other ecosystem and really focus on the target sort of audience that you then acquire and bring to this wider super chain. I think these are the two sort of trends we're seeing, and both have their pros and cons and merits. But yeah, the choices within this modular blockchain world, right? There are a lot of choices, a lot of configuration that's cool, and everyone can pick and choose what is working best for them.
Yeah. One of the most advantageous things about building in the Superchain, I think, is going to be some of the shared like interoperability tools. Like, Jack, I want to involve you here because like it just occurred to me now. I'm just realizing that a block explorer is almost like an interop solution, especially when you're able to combine blockchains, like almost like a block explorer aggregator. And there's a lot of memes going around about like interoperability solutions, like kind of like combining blockchains into like a meta blockchain and like a mega blockchain. So what is kind of like your perspective on interop, and then more specifically, like your perspective on interop within the Superchain network of chains?
So in general, interoperability is is the path, is the goal for everyone, but it is so hard. First you have the challenge of making interoperability work between different virtual machines. So like between chains that have different operating systems, so they use different interfaces, and that is the biggest. Right now, some challenges are, as I was saying before we launched the live stream. Like I have a wallet, and it's hard. For example, when you go to like Solana, if you want to bridge Solana from Solana to Ethereum, and you need to connect with both the destination and the origin wallet, because there's different path derivations. So you need to have two different systems to actually create the public keys. And so the basic idea is that those two are very, very hard interoperability challenges. And the second one is between different EVMs. So while from the different VMs is like a technological, it's a pure tech stack problem, from different EVMs between themselves is more of a like social, cultural, political problems that can arise. Also, tech problems, yes, but it's most of EVMs don't want to have tech problems between them. So, for example, right now we have, we've been talking to like tens of blockchains in the past few months, and like only a couple said to us that they're not fully EVM equivalent. Fully EVM equivalent means that the basic get node endpoints produce the same output. So like the debug trace by block or the get block or other endpoints produce the same output, the same JSON, the same data. They may be parsed in different ways, but they produce the same data. And this is not a problem on EVM. So like a lot of chains want to have the same tooling from MetaMask. They don't want to like develop MetaMask Snap or anything. So the tech stack is pretty much everyone the same. But there are some chains that have multiple like additions. For example, if you want to go to the Superchain, the Superchain has like the optimistic rollup setup, you must say. But that is very different from the ones that you have from chains that are built on top of the OP stack framework. That is not the same. For example, there is a very nice anecdote that I can say. Like a lot of the OP stack chains, so the chains that are not on the Superchain, are actually built on an OP, not on the original OP stack framework, but on the mental version of the OP stack. That means that sometimes you get like you get some like difficult integration challenges. And so interoperability is really, really key in like having the same standardized way of outputting data. We come from Avalanche, and on Avalanche right now there is just one type of like chain development kit that you can have, and it's subnet EVM. You can create a subnet with EVM virtual machine, and that means that we can integrate your chain in like 2 hours. That is because even if you don't have gas, even if you have different types of even if you bundle transactions within the consensus, like Hubble Exchange is doing, you don't need for us to give us anything. Like we just fork it from subnet EVM, we just interface with that, and that is really key. And we are seeing that for chains that are opting into the Superchain, that is the same. Like the lead time to integrate OP was roughly the same, that base, and then it was even faster. Like for Mode, we took like 2 days to integrate Mode with all the mainnet and testnet. And with Lisk, even though we're doing something, I cannot share more, Max, but we're doing something. And so
so it's somewhat standardized, Jack.
Yes.
Like it's like
yes.
Like once you get the but that's kind of like the beauty of the OP stack. Like James and Max both, like it was like you get to build in OP stack. Hopefully you get Optimism to kind of support you, right? And I know that Mode has got some awesome support from Optimism, which we'll dive into. And then you get the standardized tech stack, you get the community's network effects, you get block explorers like Superscan. And so kind of like standardizing all these parts, as you're saying, Jack, specifically for interoperability, it kind of then takes it to the next level as well. Max,
it's simple.
Agree? Kind of like.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's so important to have standards, but unfortunately, there's a financial incentive to do your own thing. And that's why since ever in crypto, we always see everyone is doing their own thing, forking away, launching their own chain, not building on existing standards, because differentiation means maybe a higher market cap. And I think now with the Ops stack, finally a tool emerged, which is good enough to become a standard. And I mean, with the huge interest in it, we really see that now finally, in some sense, we can solve the fragmentation of everyone's doing their own thing by letting them all use a common tool. And with so many big projects coming on board and Optimism having the best culture, like probably in the industry, in terms of building this thing together out, I think we can really get somewhere very, very nice with it.
So when Lisk live for our lovely community?
So we're launching still our testnet this month. So this was not revealed yet when exactly, but we already said the month. So it's coming very soon. And then the first thing for us is actually to reveal more information about our layer 2. What do we actually want to focus on? It will be different than previously. We learned a lot, and also we need to find our own place in the Optimism ecosystem. And I think we do that very nicely. And we are currently targeting then the developer mainnet launch for April. So we're moving fast. We are able to move fast thanks to Gelato and the great work the Optimism team did with their SDK. So I think this year will be very interesting for us.
Nice. Nice. Want to pass it over to James as well. James, I think that the way that Mode launched kind of, I'm not going to say followed, but there's a class of new L2s, Blast, Manta, Mode, and I'm sure we're going to see more now because there's been success with like growth of TVL in this innovative way of kind of like incentivized native yield under kind of different types of campaigns. Curious to hear your experience launching through the Optimism stack. I know that, there's been some trials and tribulations, but excited to see that, you brought it to mainnet. So, and some, reflections on the launch and, yeah.
Yeah, I think in general, like for us, like I mean, for anyone launching an L2 now, right, you need to, unless you've raised a significant amount of money, like 20 mil plus, you should launch through a partner. I don't think that like building your own stack is the right decision. And I think like we've seen the last few years, like a huge amount of innovation amongst L2s, like within the stack. And now we need to see like innovation on go-to-market and how do we get this technology into the hands of like real people. And for that, we need to run like thousands and thousands of different experiments, and we need to see what resonates with users. And the thing which seems to resonate with users right now, especially in the current market environment, is different opportunities to earn yield on ETH. This is a huge one. Different opportunities to earn yield on stable coins. Restaking is a huge narrative as well. And essentially like L2s that are focusing on these narratives and focusing on, lower cost solutions to be able to like restake your ETH are doing really well. So yeah, that's also a big focus area of ours. And yeah, I think the launch has gone well for us. We still have like a lot of products to release, a lot of partnerships to announce. So yeah, we're just trying to focus on building. We launched with like, yeah, I guess a similar mechanism to Blast. And Manta, we've tried to do something more complex with our point system, which essentially is incentivizing people to actually use ecosystem products. Another key differentiator is that we're not locking people's capital. So if people want to bridge off, they can bridge off. Because, yeah, we think this is more sustainable longer term. Like if we don't have good opportunities and interesting applications, then why should someone just have their capital stuck on Mode, right? They shouldn't. And again, like when it comes to thinking from day one of like, how can we build something that's interoperable? We have to take these considerations into account, right? Like if we wanted to have our own yield-bearing tokens, like our own yield-bearing ETH and yield-bearing stablecoin as the core stablecoin of Mode, for example, it was a USD Mode, this could potentially down the line cause problems if we want to be interoperable with like Lisk, right? Because they might say, well, no, we don't, like that stablecoin is not going to work in our ecosystem, right? Like rightfully. So there's a lot of design decisions as well around this. Like if we're bringing LST and LRTs to Mode, like what does that look like in like a future where things are interoperable between chains, right? We can't just necessarily bundle it all up into one token. We have to have different options for users. So yeah, lots more coming on this in the next month or so. And yeah, really our goal is like, how can we provide like a range of yield opportunities with different risk profiles, make sure that that's very clear for users to understand. And then they also get the added benefit of like a DeFi ecosystem where you can do things like lend your assets, borrow, leverage them, use different protocols. And yeah, lots of exciting stuff is being built around that. We've been live like 2 weeks and there's already been some cool stuff deployed. We very much focus on like our native DeFi ecosystem right now. So yeah, lots of work to be done to continue to scale this.
Nice. Got a couple of follow-ups briefly. First, that I think that building up the DApp layer is a huge differentiator, as well as not locking capital. But recently, you guys were just handsomely rewarded and rightfully so, from a Optimism grant effectively for builders to kind of keep creating really dope shit in the collective. And so I think you guys got maybe like 2 million ARB or something like that, maybe a little bit more or less.
2 million OP.
Yeah, Jesus. Oh my God. I'm sorry, boys. Classic. Head is in the gutter. So curious kind of what you are thinking about that as far as potential user incentives or incentives to attract more liquidity, or builders, developers, kind of where do you see the key focus for expenditures and kind of growth?
Yeah, I mean, like it's definitely a significant amount for us. Like we have some milestones attached to that, so it's not just like here it is, go crazy. It's very much like we have to think about like strategically how we can use that capital. A key part of this is like integrations, possible like integrations with partners like Gelato or other types of partners that supply middleware is something we can consider. Long-term developer incentives as well. But like we've tried to build a lot of these incentive models into like the mode token and the mode model. So this is like a nice like addition to that. And yeah, like the current agreement with like Superchain teams is, you contribute some of your sequencer fee profits back to the collective. This is then used to fund things like public goods. And then if you show like, developer activity and activity on chain, then there's also like other funding mechanisms available. So yeah, for us, it's been super useful, especially like more as a signal, because we haven't commented on like crazy venture rounds. We've been like purposefully trying to focus on being like community first, developer first. So for this, it's been super helpful. And we haven't spent anything yet, so we
Nice.
we definitely gonna think about the most optimal way to distribute it.
Gotcha. Cool. Appreciate that. Kind of shifting back into the broader Superchain. I'm gonna pass it over to Hilmar. Curious, kind of from your perspective, being a RAS provider, a rollup as a service provider, it's kind of your duty to be agnostic, right? Like, you want to provide the best solution for what the builder wants, regardless of the stack. So I'm curious, kind of when it comes to launching with Lisk, why you guys came to decide to build on the Superchain, why that was the better choice rather than something like, I'm not sure, like a Polygon CDK or like a, insert other stack here. So curious from yours and Mac's perspective as well.
Sure. I think maybe I can talk a bit about the technical sort of reasons here. I think the beauty of modular sort of blockchains, right, is that it's modular, right? So there are multiple options available for data availability, the execution layer, even the potential settlement layer, and so on, right? So whatever the project and the application decides is the best for their sort of desired outcome. And outcomes are not only like what is best from a technological point of view, but also from an ecosystem point of view and a go-to-market point of view, as James said, right? I think we need more go-to-market innovation. I fully sort of agree with that. But I think like for me, or where I see like the beauty of the OP stack is in its simplicity. And simple stacks are just like very easy to work with, very straightforward, and make, especially if like everyone is compatible with each other and everyone follows the same sort of rules and configurations. This just makes the life in this modular world where everyone can go crazy so much easier, right? And things work, right? Nothing just like unexpectedly breaks. Like obviously bugs can always happen, right? But there are for sure more complex stacks out there, right? Which are very harder to reason about, which add more complexity, which make it also hard. Like if you have a simple core, like from a technology point of view, like the best products are simple. Now the hards come back, the best products are simple, and then you just build complexity in the periphery, right? But at the core, they're simple. And I think that's the beauty of the OP stack and the Superchain. And I think that's why it has a very high likelihood of being like one of the sort of biggest ecosystems in the industry. And that's why we're also super pumped to onboard projects like Lisk to it. And I think it's a really good choice to select. And of course, there are other stacks that are maybe a bit more advanced when it comes to ZK proving and these kind of things, right? And so if that's super important for you as a project, then you might want to consider talking to these guys as well, right? But I believe, my personal opinion is right now, the time of the optimistic rollup is there. I think it's the time for it to shine. And then let's see what we can add later on as for more sort of faster bridging or more trustless interchain communication and so on. But yeah, I think that's why like pre-stack right now, of course, is an absolute no-brainer for projects.
And then Max, curious to hear kind of the vision for Lisk now, and kind of why you opted into going towards a optimistic rollup within the Superchain.
Mm-hmm. So for 8 years, we built our own layer 1. That means we built up this experience surrounding our own code base. And now we're going into a new ecosystem. Ethereum is, for the organization behind Lisk, new. For many individuals, not their degens and use it every day, but as an organization, Ethereum is something new to us. And that means we have to take some time to adapt to what's new. And as a project, therefore, strategically, we have no chance in building something cutting edge in 2024 because we have no experience in Ethereum. We need to switch that organization first and move it into the Ethereum ecosystem to build up that experience in order to build something really, really great. So as a strategic position, the first step for us now is to reuse existing tools like the op stack. And here the choice fell on the op stack once because, of course, it's a very simple and elegant designed SDK for layer 2s, but also we just vibed with the team. I mean, it's an amazing team, and being part of something is really more powerful, in my opinion, than not being part of something. And the Superchain brings all the strategic leverage you want as a layer 2 building in the space. I mean, being part of the Superchain, you can tap into the retroactive public good funding. You have a huge, let's say, community behind it, which is supporting you, and you can basically just be part of a bigger family. But for us, it was just important to be able to pivot into this new into this new ecosystem Ethereum and Optimism has to offer, for us then to build up that new kind of experience so that then later afterwards we can do something even bigger. And their simplicity was just key. And I think it's a very good step for us to dive into Ethereum and to build up that internal experience. But I also think that tech matters less and less. I mean, the op stack will, of course, also move at one point towards zero knowledge, but I think we are slowly but surely arriving at a point where technology doesn't matter too much anymore because it's good enough for most people to just use it. Fees are trending to zero, and it's more about, I think, network effects and usability at this point. And we just want to make it possible for developers to build consumer applications which actually are being used for something real instead of just gambling in our own space, essentially. And Optimism, I think, was the best partner for that.
Nice. And Jack, we'll pass it to you as well. Why build Superscan in the Superchain rather than going to build, a block explorer for I'm not sure, like Solana, or a block explorer for different L1s, or maybe that's on your roadmap as well. But why the focus on Superchain, and what's been your experience?
So right now, no, there's no roadmap for other VMs, but yes, some from Cosmos, Polkadot, some have asked to have a block explorer from us. But the thing is, we also service other, EVM L1s. But I think the reason why we wanted to invest, because we actually invested in in the Superscan by making, by launching it and for free for everyone. It was because we saw the track record of RetroPGF, basically, and we were hopeful that we would get rewarded for the time we took to index the blockchains and time we took to actually, engage with the community. And we got pretty much, we got 65,000 OP. So that was like half of what BlockScout took, and we are not open source. So that was really, really a blast for us. And that's why we announced a couple of weeks ago that we would, by default, offer the Block Explorer for free to all OP chains while we understand what's the best business model. Because I think the network effects of the RetroPGF are heavily undervalued. Like the fact that you can that with the RetroPGF, the Optimism Collective is trying to make equal the equation impact and profit. Like input needs to be equal to profit. So if you make a lot of impact and you don't monetize enough, you should be rewarded for the extra. That is something that is not in other chains. Actually, I saw that a RetroPGF has been done by Solana recently, maybe the first one. So there have been copies. But the main thing, yes, we're not building an Arbitrum ecosystem explorer right now because of this. Because if we would know, we're not we need to be agnostic in the sense, I personally love the Optimism ecosystem, but if Arbitrum were to have a similar opportunity, we would of course jump ship over there as well, because that's how our business is done. That's how Block Explorer needs to be paid by someone. But we have been also. Yes.
No,
yes,
I was going to say that the retro is just insane. And like James was saying that, and I'm super interested about this more because this is going to apply to Max and Lisk as well, and something that Hilmar should know when it probably does already, of course, is that you have to share some of your sequencer fees with the collective, which then ends up going back to RetroPGF as well, assumedly so, because that's where they come from. James, what does that kind of look like for you guys? Because you guys have an interesting sequencer sharing model already for users and developers, also some affiliate marketing in there. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's a small percentage. It's 15% of sequencer fee profits. That goes back to, do you commit to Optimism Collective? And it's cool. And I think if it's important that people know that that's the revenue model for L2s. Right now is the sequencer. And especially L2s that have Ethereum, or ETH as the native token. And it makes sense. We're more than happy to do that. It's a great partnership, and the goal is that there's loads of chains all working on different things, or having different communities, or contributing back to the collective. Collective gets stronger, so it's very much a win-win for everyone. Any project that deploys on Mode can participate in retroactive public goods funding, which is a phenomenal program. And I'm not sure how much was committed previously, but 100 million, I think, roughly.
30 million OP.
30 million OP. So roughly 100 million, and that's that's crazy. It's one of the largest funding programs ever in crypto, that's ongoing. So it's super cool. And it's a great way to bring builders in. But alongside that, there definitely needs to be a range of different funding models. We're keen to keep working on that.
Nice. When you talk to projects that want to come onto Mode, is it more of a oh, you can come and build on Mode and you'll likely qualify for retro, or like, hey, Mode has grants, or Mode will qualify, and then we'll kind of end up distributing as well. And then second question on top of that is, when the Mode token goes live, have you thought about kind of like incentives for projects that are building there? Is that something that you guys have discussed? Obviously that's under wraps, but something that, you know, you're also looking to bootstrap for quality dev and projects?
Yeah, like we're trying to quantify this as much as possible on the user side and also on the developer side. So, you know, the way Optimism looks at impact is via badge holders and via like a governance process, right? So retroactive public goods funding is based on a big part of the community, a group in the community, voting on proposals, right? Like our goal is to take a different approach where developers can deploy applications on chain, and rewards will be streamed to them, and incentives will be streamed based on a model that looks to grow the ecosystem. So when you look at a DeFi ecosystem, you have different protocols. You have DEXs, you have lending protocols, you have perpetuals protocols. They all have different kind of core metrics you need to look at, and they all contribute to an ecosystem's growth in different ways. Like for a lending protocol to function efficiently, there needs to be sufficient liquidity on a DEX. Equally, like for perpetuals protocols to function effectively, there needs to be like liquidation engines and all these different kind of things working together. So our goal right now is very much to try and build up our native ecosystem, model that so we can understand like, okay, if we incentivize more DEX liquidity, what will be the impact on the overall growth in the ecosystem? Or what would happen if a large lending protocol deployed to Mode and 100 million was deposited? Like, what would that look like? What would we need to support that? So yeah, our goal is like, how can we model that, and how can we end up streaming incentives and rewards to the top applications to kind of continue that growth? But yeah, that's a big problem. So we're just at the beginning of trying to solve that.
And then from the user perspective, one last one here for you, James. Obviously, there's this points meta going on right now. Users are like, no more points. Give us tokens. Blah blah blah. People are kind of getting fed up, but also at the same time, you know, it's really interesting incentive mechanism when you can kind of like segment different periods of time, and that also kind of allows you to like have a slow, almost as like restaking project launch with caps. Points kind of give you a time to like incentivize growth and then pause, and then you know, so it kind of gives you a nice growth trajectory. So curious what's next for Mode in the coming weeks to months with your launch, and anything that you can share.
Yeah, essentially our goal is to have more exciting applications launching, so people can earn points, which will eventually become tokens, but they can also earn yield, and they will also like use applications, right, that are interesting, are fun, are also useful to them. And so this isn't just, you know, put your capital into a bridge and leave it there for 3 months, and pull it out and get an airdrop. It's very much like interact with applications in the ecosystem, and depending on like your contribution to ecosystem growth, you'll be rewarded. The point system like got smashed pretty hard at launch. Like we had like I think 100,000 addresses in the first week. So a lot of stuff, basically like the calculations we were running became like insane. So we had to like slow down how we're doing calculations. But that's like we have like a significant update today on that. So it should become more clear to people like how that works. And yeah, we have some new protocols launching as well, or they've launched today, and have been added to like this ecosystem points dashboard. So it's hopefully going to be a lot more fun, and make a lot more sense for people on how they're earning.
Very cool. Hilmar, I got a question about the Gelato roll up as a service like offer or package. We've spoken a lot about the Optimism Collective and about why the OP stack makes for a great SDK. And I'm curious, like, what is the addition like that Gelato provides on top of the OP stack that makes it easier for developers to launch their own rollup? Like, you got the OP stack and then you got Gelato. What does someone get in Gelato that they don't get with the baseline OP stack?
Yeah, sure. I think sort of the angle that we came from as Gelato is that we have been really focused in the past 4 years building like the stack of Web3 middleware services that I always see as these kind of like modules that augment the underlying EVM blockchain. For example, you can do event-based or sort of recurring transaction execution. You can do gaseous transactions. You can enrich your smart contract with off-chain data. All these things that like regular EVM chains don't support, right? And there are like two ways how you can actually enhance the functionalities of a blockchain, right? One is you build these sort of modules on top, which is great because it's modular, right? So you don't need to actually change the base EVM functionality. You can just take the existing EVM and you plug in these modules and it works. And then you sort of bake it all in. But the problem with baking it all in is that then you kind of like have to do custom stuff again. You break composability, you break interoperability. Yeah, it just makes it much harder to keep up to track with, let's say, the OP stack developments. And so yeah, this is kind of like what then when the rise of like L2s came with Base, etc., we really quickly realized that the L2, the blockchain itself, is just one piece of the puzzle, right? It's like the base layer, it's the core primitive, but you need in order to then fulfill your KPIs, which usually are that you have a ton of projects, meaning that you need to track the ton of the developers that have a ton of technical dependencies, right? In order to achieve that, you actually need like a sort of end-to-end Web3 infrastructure package with your chain, right? And I'm talking about you need the blockchain, but then you also need oracles, indexers, automation, keepers, bundlers, relayers, multi-sigs, you name it, right? So we basically mapped out this sort of entire package that we know developers need from like working together with them for a lot of years, and we know that we already service like like a third of these services ourselves quite well. Bridges, like wrapped asset bridges is one of them, right? And what we then did is we went to like our partners, infrastructure partners like the Graph and so on, and we got them and say like, hey, we can just like get everything in one package. We can run RPCs for everyone that everyone can like easily deploy without running a ton of cost themselves, right? And so basically the design goal is how can we get the cost of like a full end-to-end chain deployment and maintenance project down to the lowest possible price point by sharing as much infrastructure as possible across all these services, right? And managing the deployments and sort of coordination process here. And this is basically then how we came up with our like end-to-end rollup as a service platform that tries to do that. And the goal here is really to have chains live from day one that have everything ready for projects to just come port over the app from Arbitrum, Optimism, Mainnet, or Ethereum one-to-one, deployed there, and bam, you're off to the races, right? And you don't have to do like 10 different contracts with 10 different suppliers and 10 different negotiations, and everyone runs their own RPCs, and so the costs just increase incredibly, right? So you can have like a good baseline and then do one contract and sign it all and get it all deployed. I think that's what we really focused on.
Very nice. Yeah, and I think there's also like some off-chain elements as well, or some non-technical ones. The Gelato community is quite big. Good marketing presence, tons of partners in the space as well from like a BD perspective, and kind of general marketing and growth as well. And I think those things kind of go unnoticed in a sense, but when people are making decisions, I think that those types of things come through people's minds.
Yeah, for sure. I think like go-to-market, as James said, right? We need more go-to-market innovation. And I think sort of Max also echoed that. I think that's extremely important. I think, as Max said, the tech is sort of course important, right? But we are beyond the stage of like specific tech innovations. I think we are now at a stage where we really need to see how we can leverage the tech and bring it actually to people and distribute it. And yeah, I think this is where we then this is where the power of like working together like amplifies, right? Because like I don't know, when we work together with Optimism and Lisk on like the announcement, right? It wasn't just like one party shilling it. We're like shilling it, all of us, to all different communities, and then it sort of like amplifies. And Twitter works like that, right? The more people amplify, the more people then will actually also see it that are not part of our communities, and so you just get a much wider reach. And this is how we potentially also at some point break out of our bubbles and not only all talk to the same people, but maybe even reach new people. And I think that's, yeah, I think we already saw some good success stories there, and yeah, excited to see how we can collaborate more all together, also with Mode, to just get as many eyes as possible on the Superchain.
For sure. Well, guys, as we kind of come to a close, going to give you a chance to each say some exciting updates if you haven't said them already. And, you know, also what else you're most excited about that's going on in the Superchain. I'll go first. For the roll-up, we have Modular March coming up, and we are very excited about the launch of Lisk in the Superchain. I'll start with Jack and go to Max, and then Hilmar and James. Wrap us up. Jack, what new chains, new launches, and what are you excited about?
Yes, we have, you know, of course, new OP chains, Explorers to launch. We also have some new ZK rollups, Explorers to launch, and yeah, so many new chains. And the focus is just Ethereum right now in EVM, but the thing is, everyone is now doing a rollup, so a lot of work.
Fair enough.
Yeah, for me, I mean, there's so much to be excited about. The foundation which is building Lisk is called the On-Chain Foundation, and we're just launching very soon our research arm there on onchain.org, which is about blockchain solutions or use cases, and goes pretty deep into various use cases being explored, but also which are already today on the market. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then, of course, Lisk. We have a huge job there in front of us, but I think it's going to be a very interesting year for us. For builders, we're going to make it very seamless with all the integrations and middleware we're working on. For investors, we make it very interesting with our staking, with our airdrops, and further incentivizations coming along. And yeah, I think it's going to be really, really good. And we're also going to build another product which is solving some of the problems we talked about today about fragmentation and interoperability and blockchain abstraction. So that one is still in stealth mode, but we're working really hard on that one, and it will come later this year. So all in all, we at the On-Chain Foundation are very busy, but it's going to be an amazing year for us.
Yeah. I think Echo Max, I'm also excited about the Lisk launch, working together with them, brainstorming around how to bring this to market. So extremely excited about this. Also just like 4844 dropping finally, right? Then Kuhn coming along. I think that will just like make it all much more accessible to actual users. I think like right now, rollups are just like too expensive. I think this is a huge blocker. I think this will definitely help a lot with all the upcoming new launches. So I'm super happy that it finally ships. As for us internally, I think we're working on a ton of really cool sort of enhancements to what you can offer on your own L2. One thing, what we will hopefully launch at some point is going more into like the sort of Oracle area, where we will make it just much more easy for protocols or L2s to deploy and configure price feeds on their chains using our existing sort of middleware services like Web3 functions in conjunction with other Oracle providers on a very sort of seamless UI that makes it super accessible, super easy to do, and just like again removes one barrier for adoption in like DeFi. And yeah, the goal is really to make all these infrastructure tools as accessible as possible, that you have everything you need to really build up an ecosystem of builders. So yeah, that's one of the things among many, of course. Yeah.
Cool. I'm excited because I feel like I feel like 2023 was just really like a grind. Like it was hard. Like everyone working in the space was just like, it was a grind. And like, I feel now we've seen like a significant amount of innovation, like from that people have been building over the last year, like start to come to market. And that's just awesome. I'm also like super excited about protocol upgrades. I'm super excited about hopefully integrating Gelato as middleware. I just pinged in our Telegram group. I'm excited about we're doing some stuff with Conduit, who's our infra provider. So we got some upgrade stuff coming there. We want to keep bring on more DeFi ecosystem projects. So there's going to be some cool things launching on that side. And yeah, just generally, I think the Ethereum ecosystem, it's 2024 is a huge year now. There's definitely more competition from other ecosystems, but yeah, for everyone building in the Ethereum space, it looks like this is going to be super cool. There's going to be loads of amazing opportunities for everyone. So excited to push that forward.
Yeah, man. I think a lot of the stuff that Hilmar is saying about modularity and choice and optionality is super bullish for Ethereum. EIP 4844 comes in, makes all these rollups much cheaper. Even using alternative DA and alternative VMs, at the end of the day, I think 99% of rollups will still settle to Ethereum, at least the ones that are settling a significant amount of value. So whether they're using Ethereum for data availability, EVM or not, I still think that Ethereum's just kind of underpinned this entire thing, let alone the Optimism Superchain. So, Rob, what a panel.
Yeah, I'm bullish.
Bullish.
So
Thank
bullish.
you all for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
It's time to make life-changing money this year and life-changing new technologies and innovations. I think it's going to be a big year for all of us.
How come we don't get one of these?
Yeah, I'm trying to do the hearts too. I don't know. Hilmar, you got something? Oh, Max, Jack.
I got it.
Right.
Oh God.
It's a new